If you find my content fun, enjoyable, informative, or educational, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subs by the end of the year. We are about to hit 1,800, and I'd be so glad if I could make it there before 2023. Thank you. It's Tactics Ogre release day. Tactics Ogre Reborn is out. It is incredible. I've spent 5.5, 6-ish hours playing it today. It blew my mind. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Welcome to my first ever Day 1 Impressions video for a new release, and what better one to start off with than what is probably the, well, maybe not the hypest release for me for this year, because Elden Ring and Triangle Strategy both came out, but definitely in my top 3 hypest releases for 2022. It's Tactics Ogre Reborn. I mean, I don't really know what else I have to say. A lot of you have seen my news coverage about Tactics Ogre Reborn. You know how excited I've been for it. It's just phenomenal. It's just great. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about why I've been enjoying it so much after streaming it for 5.5 hours, why I just want to dive back in and do more, but I have to wait because A, I'm tired, and B, I have to wait for my patrons to submit characters that they want me to create for them that I can then level up. So I have to take a little bit of a step back. I have to pump the brakes a little bit, and that's probably good for me because I would just binge the absolute hell out of this game. It's incredible. So yeah, apologies if I look a little tired. It's late. The lighting in the apartment isn't great. I've got a girl, Trixie. Say hi to the camera. She might not say hi, but she's adorable. Really doesn't need to do much more than that, you know? But yeah, so I've been up for a long time, was in the kitchen cooking for 4 hours. It was a whole deal. But anyway, you don't care about that. What you care about is what I think about Tactics Ogre Reborn and why it is, barring any sort of horrifying, sudden later game changes, the definitive version of Tactics Ogre. Bar none. You can't argue it with me. It just is. You can prefer a different version, that's fine. But this is the definitive version. I've got some gameplay up on screen. This is just a training battle that I decided to go through, record some footage from, just to show how smooth the game plays. It's been streamlined in so many different ways. We're talking about the way certain skills just automatically activate, like meditate and concentration are 2 skills that you'd have to go in and manually activate and let us cling together. You'd use TP for it. Now they're just free, and they have a chance to activate. And you can manipulate that chance to be more in your favor, but they just happen. You don't have to do anything. It just goes. Right at the start of your turn, you know what the situation is, what you've got going for you, what changes have happened, and you just go. That alone feels incredible for the flow of gameplay. Like, I haven't used increased speed or anything like that, any of those quality of life changes that they've added to the game. I've just been playing it. And already the game feels so much less clunky, or really, I guess, the memory of Let Us Cling Together feels so much more clunky than Reborn does. It's so smooth. Going into a battle, getting your bonus objectives, being able to scout, seamlessly go back, modify your party, get in there, start playing. It's phenomenal. I'm never going to be able to play a different version of Tactics Ogre again because this is just such a smooth experience. The way you just get your skills leveling up after a battle, it shows you this is what you've learned or this is what skill has leveled up. You just know, and then you can go in and you see what skills you got at the end of a battle when you go into the party screen. You can modify it. Like, the only word I can think of to describe this game is smooth. The voice acting, smooth as silk. Haven't played the Japanese yet, but English is like butter. Every English voice has been phenomenal. Even the ones that are kind of supposed to be a little funny, you can tell, still quality. The soundtrack, people in my chat were raving. I'll never get tired of this soundtrack. This music is incredible. What track is this? All stuff that I heard in my chat, and I agree with all of it. All of the music is so familiar. And yet you can just, based off of memory alone, feel how this reorchestrated soundtrack blows the soundtrack for Let Us Cling Together out of the water. It's amazing. Like, this is the first game soundtrack that I'm going to buy. As soon as I'm able to do so, I'm going to buy it because it's just phenomenal. And it's not just the OST and the voice work, it's little things, little clinks and clanks of armor, stepping sounds as characters move around the battlefield, grunts and groans and death cries. Like, all of the audio work in Reborn is above and beyond pretty much any other game that I've played, except maybe Elden Ring this year. It's wild. I don't know how they did it. The story, I mean, it's Reborn. Tactics Ogre. Nothing has changed, but it feels so fresh to have it narrated to you, to see the characters interacting without you having to do anything. It really is like a new game. So even though I know what's happening, I don't even care. I'm excited to see it all again. The fact that characters level up in their class separate from each other is fantastic. The experience distribution thus far has been really good. My characters are only level 7, so I don't know how things are going to slow down as you get to higher levels. But right now, 1 or 2 battles and you've got another level. You're learning new skills, you're learning new abilities, you're powering up. It feels great. The changes to equipment, where I actually am now making a conscious decision, even just with my first equipment change, from like leather armor to chainmail. There's a decision to be made. Leather armor is lighter, it gives you more attack, less defense, but it's not strictly worse than the chainmail that you just unlocked, which gives you better defenses, slows you down, makes it so that you deal a little bit less damage. I cannot imagine the variety of things you're going to be able to do as you unlock more equipment, as you get to the end game, find legendary weapons, high-powered armor. I've barely even scratched the surface of investigating what skills are on things. Like swords, I believe it's swords have parry, whereas axes have counter or something like that. And they all have different skills that are going to define what a character can do based on the type of equipment you decide to give them. Like, a hammer knight versus a sword knight could play very differently, depending on the gear that you give them, even though they're going to learn the same skills. And that's extremely impressive to me. The rate at which you gain MP with automatic meditate, not having to use TP to gain MP, not having to rely so much on using items. I kind of liked back in the day of having to really choose, like, am I going to use a lesser MP status effect move or a bigger MP damaging spell? But that's not the pivoting decision point anymore. You almost always have enough mana to at least cast a basic attack spell, let alone anything else that you want to do. So now it really is more a matter of what tactically do I need to do here? Not limited by my resources, but what strategically would be the right choice here. And that's a nice change of pace. That is a nice change of pace, I have to say. Very, very nice. The difficulty feels really good. First couple battles were not hard at all, but even the tutorial fights took a little bit more effort than I remember them taking in Let Us Cling Together. The Zenobian Knights don't just steamroll the Galgastani defenders in quite the same way that they used to. And, I mean, the difficulty only scales from there. The last thing I did in my stream today was the very first fight with the Necromancer Nybeth. I won't go into details because I don't want to spoil anything for people, but just, like, if you know, you know. It's a tough fight, and this was a tough fight. But it still feels exactly as I remember Let Us Cling Together feeling. It hasn't been changed at a fundamental level, even though all the mechanics are different. And the game plays, again, so much more smoothly. It feels like I'm going home. And that's amazing to me. An 11-year difference between these games, and yet they feel like the same game. It's magnificent. Being able to share my experience with my viewers, show them what Tactics Ogre is, tell them about the characters and the world and how the game plays. People asking me, oh, I've only played Fire Emblem, I've only played Triangle Strategy, I've only played Final Fantasy Tactics. How does this compare? And being able to talk about that from a meta standpoint makes me so incredibly happy as well. Even though my favorite game in the series or genre is Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre is up there. So being able to share that with people has been phenomenal. I can't wait to get unique characters, special classes, start unlocking monsters, unlocking dungeons, seeing how these big battles that I know exist later on in the game play out with these new gameplay systems, especially as I unlock new abilities and new spells, and either just things that are new for my characters or new to the game entirely. Because I know those exist. I haven't seen many of them yet, but I know they exist. So, I mean, there's just really not a whole lot that I can say that's bad about the game. I really can't. I've got no complaints. A+ thus far. Obviously, I'm 6 hours into what is functionally a hundreds of hours long game. So this is not like the definitive review or anything, but day one, first impressions, A+. Square knocked it out of the park. Isumi Matsuno knocked it out of the park. Everyone on that team absolutely killed it. And it's awesome. So I'm going to call this one here. I'm going to see about taking care of some of those things like patron characters and things like that. Speaking of which, it is Friday. And for those of you who know the channel, that means I have to thank my supporters. So, from my YouTube members, thank you to Killer Cake, Canadian Animator Guy, IR Fine, Light B, Schnorble, Angel Plushie, Star Phoenix, Tojo Jr., Federico, Brand Solar 1, Midday Moonlight, Luxor, and Caffeine System. And from my Patreon, you can see from my Patreon, Caffeine System, Killer Cake, Angel, 18C, James Broomfield, Wolf, and Mike Ridings. You guys are the reason that I'm able to keep going so hard on YouTube. You're part of the reason that the channel is growing, that my Tactics Ogre videos have been doing so well, and that I'm able to put so much attention into this. This is the payoff. This is where it happens. So thank you guys so much. If you want to consider becoming a supporter, links are in the description to this video, both for YouTube memberships and for Patreon. And if you want the ability to create a character that I will then use in my campaign of Tactics Ogre, there's a $10 tier on my Patreon where one of the perks, just one, there are many perks, but one of the perks is that you get priority and a guaranteed character in a game where I'm able to make characters and use them. So if you want to do that, you'd be helping me out immensely. My supporters are easily half of my YouTube revenue in any given month. So you'd be helping me a ton, and you'll be immortalized as part of the campaign. So, not a whole lot else to say. Other than that, I'm going to get back to playing, get back to working on stuff. More streams coming soon. Stream schedule will be up soon, so look for that in my Discord, in my community page on YouTube, and on my Twitter. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.